Hello, everybody, and welcome to NURS 411 Complex Nursing Situations. Now, in this class, one of the expectations that I do have is that you're going to be thinking complex. You're not going to be thinking medical, surgical, you're not going to be thinking fundamentals. As I discussed in the class last week, turning a patient Q2, yes, that is a therapeutic nursing action, but where does that belong in the clinical setting for ICU? For example, we have the COVID-19 situation, and turning a patient in prone position is known to be a therapeutic response. But in 411, we're gonna up our game. We're gonna move to complex situations that require intensive care. So intensive care is building on your past experiences. So what we're going to start off with today is shock. There are three shocks: hypovolemic shock, cardiogenic shock, and of course you have your septic shock. We will not cover septic shock today because it's a little bit longer. I'm actually going to give you an assignment to look at end goal directed therapy, which is the therapy used to treat shock, septic shock. But I'm going to go over the 8 parameters. So first of all, we need to find out what causes shock. Shock is caused when the body does not get enough oxygen. When the body doesn't get enough oxygen, the body goes into shock. The body thrives on just oxygen. That's what it lives for every day. And oxygen is carried through the blood, hemoglobin. But something is called pressure. Now, pressure is not as you know it as blood pressure. Pressure is as you know it as the resistance in the vasculature system, that the blood vessel does not collapse. I'm standing in front of you. My blood system is intact. My systemic vascular resistance and my pressure is balanced, and therefore my blood is circulating through my body. It's not pooling at the bottom of my leg. It's reaching all of my vital organs. So therefore I can truly say that my pressure is stable. So let's look at that for a moment. What is pressure? I just said what it is. What is perfusion? Perfusion is that hemoglobin and oxygen going through your system. So we have to understand pressure first. Just think of this pendulum. A pendulum is similar to, when you were younger and you used to swing on you and a friend used to go on a swing. So if you put 10 pounds here and you put 5 pounds here, what's going to happen? The 10 pound is going to drop, eh? It's going to drop like this, and the 5 pound is going to go up in the air. So what happens is pressure in the vasculature system is the balance between volume and systemic vasculature resistance. So when your pressure is stable, you have a balance between the volume and the systemic vascular resistance. That's very important because this little table here, you're going to have to memorize this table. This table has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 components that act indices that balances out or tells us about pressure. About shock. All right? There are 3 types of shock. You have hypovolemic shock, you have cardiogenic, and the last one here is septic shock. We're not going to talk about septic today, but we're going to talk about it next week. All right? These 8 indices are: 1, cardiac output. So let me just give you a moment to get a paper. Go ahead, get a paper for me. So you're going to draw 3 columns, actually 4. You're going to put 1 through 8. You're going to get cardiac output in the first column, so in the first row, heart rate, systemic vascular resistance, there you go, ejection fraction, PCWP, pulmonary catheter wedge pressure, JVP, jugular venous pulse, blood pressure, and skin temperature. Okay? So you're going to write those 8 going down. If you know what the normal values are for these, and you know what happens when it goes up or down, you'll have a good understanding of your hypovolemic and your cardiogenic shock. So I'm going to go over those 2 today. So what is pressure? Pressure is that balance between volume and systemic vascular pressure. What is perfusion? Perfusion is that hemoglobin transporting oxygen to those vital organs. That is what perfusion is. So what happens when perfusion is low? 1, 2, 3, 4 things happen in the system. There's a clinical manifestation that occur. Clinical manifestation. 1, heart rate. 2, respiratory. 3, skin. And the last one will be brain, but not necessarily last, but one is brain. And then, of course, you have the kidneys. These are vital organs. You're going to see me talk about that in a few minutes, okay? So what happens when there's a change in pressure? When the volume drops. When the volume drops, you